Call to order, Bedford Township Planning Commission, regular meeting for February 14th, 2018. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Secretary, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Frederick?
Present.
Mr. Zybeck?
Present.
Mr. Jenkins?
Present.
Mr. Garvrick is excused. Stefan is present. Mr. Fritz?
Present.
And Mr. Anker.
Here. Next, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda. If you guys want to look over that.
So moved. Support.
Motion carried. And the next we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the January 24th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes of the January 24th meeting and waive the reading thereof.
Support.
Motion carried. Next on the agenda is the public comment. We limit these to 3 minutes. This is for anything that's not being covered in the new business. So if anyone would like to mention anything that's not being covered in the other 3 items here.
Not related to things that are on the agenda?
Correct.
Well, they can speak to anything, but we do have one that is a public hearing and one that is not. So if he wants to speak to the one that is not a public hearing, he may want to speak now.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, my name is Dan Bauer.
Come up to the,
Sir, you might have to come up here.
and if you could state your name and address.
Sure. My name is Dan Bauerschmidt. Address is 8088. I have to remember, we just moved there. Timberwoods Lane, Lambert, or Temperance, Michigan now, 48182. Longtime resident, used to be in Bedford and Lambertville, so pardon me. I'm here related to the planned unit development modification related to Timberwoods 2. One of the lots in question as the basis to driving the modification request from builder is a misalignment of an existing structure, which happens to be my structure that I was moved into and took possession of December of last year. So understanding that you guys are to determine whether or not it's a minor modification or a major modification, in which case it needs to go to a open hearing. I have a signed letter from the people in the 4 surrounding lots most closely affected by this modification, along with their concerns. Everybody in there believes it to be a major modification, and the points are presented in that letter. In addition to that, the number 1 point we see is that there's insufficient information provided by the surveyor for you to be able to make an informed decision on the modification doesn't encroach on the existing easements and or setbacks that are restrictions on that current property. Without the dimensional data and geometrics for the proposed addition, I don't see how we can make an informed decision. So therefore, we see it as a major modification. In addition, there's 4 other bullet items related to this. Request for a change. People are concerned. They feel that they want to have a say in that matter and believe that it needs to be declared a major modification so that there's an open forum for them to work within the system to make sure that the right thing is done here. I have a particular interest in it because I understand there was a bust of 4.5 feet on the survey, which is driving a lot of this, and there's some definite impact on my house and my value. It's a brand new house, just moved into it, and I would like some input into that process. We also just all became aware on Monday, we received a letter from the commission, and we really haven't had time to react. We're in here today Our development has a lot of retirees who are in Florida, snowbirds, things like that, so many of them haven't even received the letter yet, so. So the reduced property values, the deviation from the original design intent affecting the values of it. We believe there's possibilities for alternate alignments that could keep true to the original intent, and the compressed schedule and us needing to make this decision, along with insufficient information provided by the surveyor to make an informed decision on whether we're abiding by the currently recorded easements, setbacks. There's no dimensional data, and there's no, nothing from the registered engineer on the proposed change. So based on those, we think it's a major change and that it should go forward according to the PUD process related to that. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Randy Elcock, 7736 Jackman Road, Temperance. I'm here on behalf of my 89-year-old friend Levon Wyrick. We've just got one simple question pertaining to the Montry property. Will there be a road, thoroughfare, route, bike path, paved or not, open to the public or private, at the end of Bernard Road where it meets Charlotte? That's all, thanks.
If there's nobody else, I will entertain a motion to open up the new business, a public hearing regarding the request for Monterey Estates final PUD approval.
My name's Ray Jones. I'm the surveyor that the gentleman refers to. It's the first time I've heard about this letter with these bullet point concerns. And so I could address some of his comments here tonight, but I wonder if it wouldn't be better to table any action on this issue for Timber Woods tonight, unless you feel you have enough information and I can answer some of his questions concerning the sketch that you received. So I guess that's my question to you folks. How do you want to handle it? What would be best?
Go ahead.
Well, this is not a public hearing on this matter, so I guess it's just a case of council whether or not we can just move to postpone this to our next meeting and get more information.
If the planning commission feels that there might be more information that would be available to help them answer in their mind the questions posed, then certainly you can postpone this. If you think you have enough information, and maybe with additional comments from the developer's surveyor that would answer those questions, I guess you can just decide at that point in time whether or not it would be helpful to hold it over to another meeting.
Can we do this during public discussion right now? I mean, if there's feedback, I think. Tape.
I think it'd be best for you to discuss it with the surveyor if you have questions at the time when it shows up on the agenda.
So we can make that decision. Oh, go ahead.
Well, my only concern is I haven't seen this letter other than just now. I don't know what the points are in that letter. The surveyor has not had an opportunity to respond to any of those points. Karen, Jody, do you think it would be appropriate if we look and see if we get more information and make a more informed decision?
Again, we we weren't aware of the letter with the bullet points either, so
Okay.
I passed it down without even looking at it, so I'm not sure what's in there, so I'm not positive if additional information can be obtained through what was written.
Okay.
And if Ray can address it, that's,
Do you want me to make a copy for Ray, and then they can make that decision when we move on to it to the item agenda?
why don't we,
And then we
you want a
can
copy of it?
Well, I mean, obviously, that, I'd need to see those. Some of the comments that the gentleman made are not necessarily true, but in an effort to satisfy any of the residents that live in that development, we don't have a problem if that would be best to move it on to another meeting, later date, but I guess that's up to you folks if, again, I can answer the questions, but this is the first time I've seen them.
What we can do is we'll go through the meeting like planned, and then we will make the decision whether or not to table it until the next meeting. So that we can get the information out and then also then decide whether or not we have enough information at that point.
Okay, I mean, that's fine.
The residents would like, because we just received this letter from yourselves, we'd like a chance to digest it. We didn't see this, so we'd love to have it put off for a month, and this issue might be resolved otherwise. Give us a chance to do the same thing you need to do, which is read through the information.
But we still want to hear the information tonight too, so we can, it will help you guys and us as well for the future, if we decide to table it. Thank you.
So I'll get a copy of the letter
She's making one right now for you.
and hang out for a minute.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right. Is there any other public comment before we move on? Okay, I will entertain a motion to open the public hearing regarding the Monterey Estates.
So moved.
Motion carried. Yeah, would you please call the roll, Mr. Secretary?
Mr. Jenkins,
Aye.
Mr. Frederick,
Aye.
Mr. Zybek,
Aye.
Mr. Stefan votes yes. Mr. Fritz,
Yes.
Mr. Anger.
Yes. Motion carried. Karen, if you want to give us a rundown?
sure. This request is from Monterey Estates LLC for final PUD approval for a 61-unit condominium project located off of Stearns Road between Douglas Road and Jackman Road, and it's for a rezoning of a portion of parcel numbers 5802-028-05100 and 5802-028-05200 from R2A to PUD. The plus or minus 20-acre parcel has a total of approximately 114.89 feet of frontage on Stearns Road, which provides one means of ingress-egress. The public hearing for preliminary conceptual approval for the request was held on November 16, 2016. We did include those minutes in your packet, where the Planning Commission recommended approval, and on December 6, 2016, the preliminary concept PUD plan was approved by the Township Board. Those minutes are also included. It should be noted the Planning Department is working with the developer, Consumers Energy, and the Clerk's Department on street lighting plan. Sidewalks are being proposed around the interior units, and the proposed landscape has been reviewed and approved and meets the ordinance requirements. We also do have the elevations, and I believe that you have those in front of you tonight. The developer has advised the Planning Department that the color rendering will be earth tones. A letter of approval was received from the Monroe County Road Commission on 1/23/18, the Monroe County Drain Commission on 1/24/18, excuse me, Manikin Smith Group on 1/26/18, and the Bedford Township Fire Department on 2/9/18. Final site plan approval for Phase 1 of Monterey Estates should be conditioned on addressing all issues and concerns prior to any development, as stated in MCDC, MSG, MRCRC, and the Bedford Township Fire Department review letters. Special assessment district for street lighting within Phase 1 shall be set up through the Clerk's Department, and the PUD agreement and master deed shall be submitted to the Township Attorney for review and approval. They also have applied to MDEQ, and they are awaiting their response from MDEQ, so that has been, that is in the works, and I think that might be all.
Is there a representative for Monterey Estates? If you could just just state your name and address as well. Just state your name and address as well.
Richard Montry, 7147 Maplewood Drive, Temperance.
Do I have to let them know about the one member short at this time? So we are one member short, so you still require a majority vote if you would like to proceed.
Proceed.
Okay. You guys have any questions, comments, concerns? Mr. Frederick?
One of the issues in the preliminary plat approval process had to do with floodplain issues, wetlands. Have those all been addressed and taken care of? Because I'm looking at all kinds of wetlands, I'm looking at all kinds of DEQ issues here, I'm looking at floodplains, I'm looking at maybe some bushes in the floodway. Have we taken care of all of those or not?
We've been in contact with MDEQ, and they are working through those issues. They were acquiring some additional information from Dennis Kohler. So in order for them to get their permit to work, MDEQ will have to be satisfied that they're not going to be working in the floodplain or any wetlands.
Mr. Frederick?
Mr. Montra, I see you're building a bridge across a drain. Has your engineer been talking to the Drain Commission and everybody else to make sure that this is right? The only reason I'm familiar with the history at Hickory Creek, where they had to tear a bridge down and start over again. I would like to have seen your engineer in there, so I could have challenged him on what it is. But I'm just kind of asking the question because of some history I know about in the township of building bridges across drains. Karen, do you have something to add to that or something?
I could. Mr. Sergro is a part of this project, who is the Deputy Drain Commissioner. So the Drain Commission has been involved in this.
Okay. Okay.
If I may add too, I just wanted to comment, we had one inquiry from an audience member regarding connection. When the conceptual plan was approved, at that time, we required a secondary access because the fire code required anything over 30 homes would require a secondary access. Since that time, the township has adopted portions of the fire code, but relaxed the required, the requirement for a second access with the number of homes to 100. The fire chief has reviewed the plan and indicated that they no longer are required to have a secondary access. The secondary access that they were proposing was not off of Bernard and Charlotte. It was through a parcel off of Stearns Road. So there will be no connection to this development from Charlotte through Bernard and Wilfred. So the secondary access has been eliminated as approved by the fire chief.
Thank you. Are there any other questions we have?
Public,
I'm
anybody
sorry.
wants to speak?
Oh, if there's anyone, you can have a seat, thank you. If there's anybody that would like to speak on, as a public comment regarding this. If there's no other comment, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll support.
Motion carried? Or do we have to vote for that? Oh, we have to vote for that, sorry. Can you take a roll call?
Stefan votes yes. Mr. Zybek?
Yes.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mr. Jenkins?
Aye.
Mr. Fritz?
Yes.
And Mr. Anger?
Yes. Motion carried. Any planning commission comments?
Just one question. Dick, if somebody comes in and chooses one of the three-car garage layouts, is the lot going to be wide enough for that, to still maintain your setbacks?
Dick? Dick, come in.
The existing garage that's there now?
No. What I meant was if somebody chooses a three-car garage model, will that fit on the lot and still maintain the
A
setbacks?
few, but not too many. I'm thinking there's about 6, 7 lots, about it. Other than that, it's 2-car.
That can accommodate that three-car, okay.
Mr. Frederick?
Karen, the planning department has approved the landscaping plan, you've approved the
elevations.
et cetera, et cetera. This has all been looked at and
The
approved?
the elevations are those that are either the same or very similar to that of Summerfield Woods.
That's what I thought was coming.
So the elevations are approved, and the earth tone colors is approved. And the landscaping, it is, the material for the landscaping is pine trees and not either, spirea and burning bushes mix.
Another question I forgot what it is.
If I may just add one more thing. Consumers Energy,
I have one more
Okay, I'm
question.
sorry.
For somewhere I thought I saw there were buildings on this property? They're gonna, so one of the conditions will be that they have to secure demolition permits
correct,
as well?
correct.
Okay. That's what I was looking for. I couldn't remember there was another one. Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may? The comment in here regarding the Consumers Energy, Consumers Energy has changed their policy on installing lights in private roads, private developments. So we are continuing to work with them to see what options we have available or the developer has available. At some point, there still will have to be a special assessment district set up to spread the cost of the use of the lights. So once we find out what the options are and the developer makes that decision, we will then have the special assessment district set up for the usage of the lights. That does not have to be done at this point. That's something that is done prior to township board, or in the last case, we were still waiting to hear back on a previous project that came in, and we're still continuing to work with the developer on that. So, but there will have to be, the difference with this now is that the Consumers Energy does not install the lights. It used to be where we had to take in an escrow to pay for the lights. Consumers Energy charged the township, and then we had it in escrow from the developer to pay for the cost of the installation of lights. that will no longer be required. The developer will be required to have the lights installed themselves, and then the cost will then be charged to the developer. But again, the usage will be spread, and a special assessment district will be set up for that.
I just had one question. So this is planned for condominium-type things where the lawn is taken care of and everything like that, so it's going to be low maintenance or no maintenance for the homeowners. We don't have a lot of that around here, so this is, in my opinion, a good thing for the town because we have a need for it because of the aging population. If there's no other comments, I would entertain sorry.
Just for some clarity, for your purposes, this really is a twofold request tonight. Since this is a planned unit development, a PUD, I'd like to see two motions. And what you do tonight is merely a recommendation to the Township Board. The first motion would be whether or not you would recommend rezoning of the property involved from R2A to PUD, Planned Unit Development. That's a zoning classification. That question then or that recommendation would be handed off to the Township Board for approval or denial. The second motion would be to recommend approval or not recommend, or approve with conditions, the final PUD plans. It's a number of sheets that they've submitted. So that's both of those motions, then you can consider approve with conditions, or deny. It's a recommendation, and then they'd be handed off to the Township Board.
Thank you, Marty.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the portions of parcels number 5802, 028, 05100, and 5802, 028, 05200 be rezoned from R2A to PUD.
A recommendation to reason.
The reason being that the property will be ultimately zoned, or will be ultimately developed as a PUD. The zoning is consistent with the master plan. The uses in the area are consistent with PUD/R2A. And these will be single-family residential units.
Support.
Mr. Frederick.
Aye.
Mr. Jenkins.
Aye.
Mr. Steinbeck.
Aye.
Mr. Steffen votes yes. Mr. Fritz.
Aye.
And Mr. Anger.
Yes. We also need a second motion to recommend to the zoning for final PUD plan.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the final site plan for Phase 1 of Monterey Estates on a portion of parcel 5802-028-051-00 and 5802-028-050-00. Subject to the completion of all items addressed in Matic and Smith letter dated January 26, 2018, Bedford Township Fire Department letter of February 8, 2018, and Monroe County Road Commission letter of January 23, 2018. The Drain Commission apparently didn't have any concerns about it, but I think it would be wise, before it comes back to the Township Board, to have Tim address the issues that Lamar mentioned about the wetlands, floodplain, and the road crossing. So I'll make that part of the motion.
Support.
Take the roll.
Mr. Jenkins?
Aye.
Mr. Stefan votes yes. Mr. Zybek?
Yes.
Mr. Fredericks?
Aye.
Mr. Fritz?
Yes.
And Mr. Anger?
Yes. Motion carried. Next, we have a request to determine if the proposed amendment to the Timberwoods PUD is a minor or major change located on the east end of Soda Drive. Can we have or Mr. Frederick, sorry?
Well, in view of what we've heard this evening, and the surveyor has just seen the letter, we've just seen these documents. Our planning commission has not seen the documents. There may be issues disclosed in these documents that we haven't considered or would not have considered fully. So therefore, I move that the request to determine if the proposed amendment to the Timberwoods PUD would be at our next planning commission meeting. Did I say that right? Postponed to our next planning commission meeting, yeah. Just stop and think about that for a moment.
Support.
Mr. Fredericks?
Aye.
Mr. Jenkins?
Aye.
Mr. Zybek?
Aye.
Mr. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Stefan votes yes. Mr. Anger?
Yes. Yes. Motion carried. That puts C also to the next meeting. Now I'll entertain any more public comment if anyone would like to speak on any issues.
First question I have, again, my name's Ray Jones, I'm FWB. I live in Blissfield, Michigan. I didn't tell you that before. My first question is, can you tell me what the definition is, or the line between a minor and a major changes? What makes one a major, what makes one a minor? Because I'd like to understand that.
I think we can provide him a copy of the page 2130.20 of the PUD ordinance section. It talks about, even talks about some examples, but it is not clearly objective. It's somewhat subjective for the planning commission to decide, and I think a lot of that will involve, does it impact neighboring parcels or units, and or is it just something aesthetic that's not going to impact the project? So we can provide that to you, so you have that, and that'll help you in the future.
Yeah, that's fine, but I'd still like to know, does the planning commission, those members sitting up there, understand those differences, other than what you're going to provide to me?
I provide it to everybody.
Make sure everybody gets a copy.
Everybody understands the differences between them, minor and major? Yeah. Okay, very good.
Yeah, I
And-
do, I'm just,
I'm sorry.
been around a long time, yes.
Oh. Okay, and again, I guess it's worth a comment that I know in past conversations with the developer, they obviously would like to do what is best for the entire community and answer any questions that those residents may have. So I would think that we would probably get together with those residents during the course of the following month, so that hopefully they can, their concerns can be addressed and we can move forward with this. Yes, sir.
When is our next planning commission meeting scheduled?
Well,
He just said a month.
well, we do have a meeting scheduled for the 28th, but we have nothing on the agenda. This request is not an application, so we would like to have, we try to consolidate, so we would like to at least have something else on the agenda, so.
Well, my motion was the
If we
next
don't have-
regularly scheduled meeting.
How often do you folks meet?
Twice a month,
Twice a month.
Twice a month?
second and fourth month.
Then
I guess I'd say that I don't think 2 weeks is enough time, because we have to get together with the homeowners, and that be accomplished in 2 weeks? I don't know.
Well, as the maker of the motion, I move to withdraw that motion and make a new motion that we would postpone further action on this request to determine the proposed amendment to the Timberwoods PUD to the first meeting in March.
That would be 1 month from tonight,
Yeah.
the 14th.
Support.
We can roll call.
Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Stefan votes yes. Mr. Zybek?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
I'm not sure I'm gonna
Yes.
be here, but
Mr. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Anger?
Yes.
that's all the comments I had, unless you had a question for me. Okay, thank you.
Any new information, Karen?
Not at this time.
Any commissioner or staff comment?
I sent out an email today if anyone on the board is interested in attending a workshop. There is one scheduled, I think it's the 20th of March at Wayne State University. It is in the afternoon. It's from 12:30 to 5 o'clock. The township does pay you. We are members of Michigan Association of Planning. So if anyone is interested, just respond to the email. It's a little early, so I will just keep monitoring to see if there are other interested parties. I know I have received comment from, I know Mr. Fritz is interested in someone from the BZA.
That's on a Tuesday, I believe, correct?
I believe it is.
Marty?
Nothing.
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 I pass.
I'd like to say happy Valentine's Day to all the wives out there that had us to do this meeting today.
Nothing.
Nothing.
If there's no other comments, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
I guess I.